Live on stage. That sound.
Orlando.
Yo, is they ready?
Yes.
That sound.
Orlando.
Yo, what's going on, party people? What is going on? It's your boy Rome, live and direct in the house. As usual, this is the Sound of Orlando show. It is a Thursday, Throwback Thursday. And shout out to all the people that tune in and continue to support. We love y'all. We reached a new milestone today. We reached the number of 5,000 likes and followers. We're 3 months in, and it's really starting to catch on. 3 or 4 months in, and it's really starting to catch on. And this is for our city, man. This whole show is designed to put a spotlight on the entire city. I was blessed enough last night to talk to my man Disco from Disco and the City Boys, legendary DJ, all around good brother out here. He will be joining us at some point, in the future episode. I'm looking forward to that. He supports what we're doing. And it's just a beautiful thing. We actually get to talk to everybody about how important it is for our city to shine over the likes of maybe an individual. We should be looking at this from a broader standpoint as far as unifying the entire city and opening the entire city for not only what it's already been open for, which is tourism, which is, hospitality industry, which is Disney, which is all things, what people fly down here for, but to actually open our city for culture and arts and entertainment and bring all of it out like it should be brought out. There's plenty of artists and entertainers out here that are deserving of the shine, that are not darlings of newspaper media outlets, that, are not, friends of Channel 13 News and, or not connected to Clear Channel. And they deserve just as much shine as those blessed brothers and sisters have as well. And this show is designed to give that platform for all of us. And when you hear things like the Sound of Orlando, that's not one person. The Sound of Orlando is all of us. So this is literally a trumpet. I'm talking to the entire city right now. If you have a vested interest in our city shining, regardless to who's first, who's last, or who's in or who's out, if you have a vested interest in our city shining, because that takes pressure off all of us. If it's based on the city, that means we can all concentrate on what we do best. But if it's based on one person and one person being dependent, being made dependent on for them to give us all the breaks, that ain't going to happen. That's impossible. But as a city, we can look at ourselves as a full, empty mall. And all we got to do is fill that bitch up with businesses. I'm making a call to anyone in the city that can hear my voice right now. Yo, this is your moment. Do you choose selfishness over the city? Most thinking people would not. I had Do It All on last night, and he said this great quote. Do It All from Lords of the Underground. And he said this beautiful fucking quote. He said, if you love your city, things will change. So I'm telling all my OGs out there, all my people out there that, have doubted over the years, felt like you need to leave to make it happen. This ain't that moment no more. That moment will pass right now. We are working on developing a coalition of the willing, Voltron, if you will, the entire city coming together with the vested interest of blowing up the entire city. So even the people that weren't involved, they're going to benefit. Everyone out here stands to benefit from this particular movement. I'm telling the whole city that. You have a seat at our table if you have a vested interest. So kudos to you. Salute to the 5,000 that we gained today. And now on to our next guest. Our next guest represents everything the sound of Orlando. He's been doing this thing for a minute. One of the few people that have had his song on rotation on the legendary 102 Jams radio station back in the days. He's known as a producer, a man of all traits, but people immediately know him for that smooth ass voice he got. He's one of the cool ass R&B singers that we got in the city, and he's continuing to reinvent himself and continuing to evolve and continuing to make better music as a producer. Man, I'm just honored to have this brother come on tonight. He represents all things Orlando, and we're going to get right into it. Give it up for my brother from another mother, Christopher Kane. What's good?
What's good, my brother?
Man, welcome to the show.
I love the intro.
Man, you know, we got to tell it like it is, man. We got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. Appreciate you coming on, man. Appreciate you coming on. You know, we might have run up on one another back in the days, not even know it. You know, but it's always good to have brothers like yourself on. We caught up when I came back from Kansas City, and you know, as well as a lot of people are learning how to, you know, deal with what's going on in the world today. I'm learning about my city too. You know, I lived here all my life, but I am getting to know my people again in a real way, and
right.
And I think it was a beautiful thing. Shout out to my man Shadow, who was able to kind of link us back up. And
much love to my man Shadow, you know, aka Tommy. You know what I'm saying? But Shadow, was one of the affiliates from the Warheads, and that was a movement that that was started from a collective group of people.
Right.
You know, shouts out to Vaughn, of course, another Warhead member, Strange Flow, my boy Anthony Francisco, aka Fatal. You know, man, there was so many Jamani. It was a lot of guys, man, in the Warheads. You know that definitely played a role in the city sound for sure.
Absolutely, they represented the east side of town. I think that gave us really a well-diverse parts of the city and its own character. You know, the east side of town of Orlando is known for many things, and hip hop is one of them. You know, and it allowed other people on the other sides of town to, you know, sharpen their steel as well, you know, by having those contrasts. You know, it's just a beautiful thing to have brothers like I said, Red Rum, and you know, and that whole East Side energy contributing from day one.
Yeah, they was there. Like, you know, I grew up in Orlando. I was born and raised in Orlando, at Florida Hospital, in one park. And so, you know, I went to Palmetto, I went to Sadler, and then I finally went to Ola Vista, which was my elementary school. And from there,
did we just get an Ola Vista sighting?
West Side, stand up, man.
Ola Vista?
You already know
about Ola Vista, man.
Man, in the heart of the city, man. Come on now.
That West Indian rocking over there, man. That you know, shout out to my cousins. You know, all my St. Croix family over there, and you know, like it's just like it was a great vibe over there in Ola Vista. Small, few blocks long, but
few blocks long with a lot of love, and you know what I'm saying.
Hey, we got Ola Vista Park, so
Ola Vista Park. That's where everything went down. A lot of meetings went on at Ola Vista Park. You know, a lot of guys was hooping. You know, that was doing their thing. You know, shout out to my little brother Kane, man. He honed his skills at Ola Vista Park, man. You know, so you know. The whole, like, from Ola Vista, I remember riding my bike from Ola Vista to Robertswood Middle School.
Yep. Now you're in Pine Hills. As soon as you cross that Highway 50, you go right over there by Balboa. Shout out to Robertswood and all that movement energy. Shout out to the hills.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so that's where, you know, I grew up, and I seen a lot of, you know, just from being a youngster, you know, going to Robertswood and then finally going to Evans, and, you know, just honing my skills, between football, playing football. Shouts out to everybody that played ball between 90, 91, and 95. Um, you know, it was just fun, man, growing up in Orlando. We was a small city though. People really didn't know who we was, until we got the basketball team. Shaq came, and then Orlando started getting popping. People started recognizing, okay, this is another city besides Miami. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I love that you said the Magic, because the Magic brought us all together in ways that we weren't really on that scale coming together. I remember their first showing that they were even a team. I was at Howard Junior High, and that's downtown right there on Robinson, and we were just kids, and I remember the Magic coming in there. They just got to Orlando. Yeah, Howard. They just got to Orlando, and they were trying to, kick off this big press run, and they came to our school and did a rally at our school, and at the time it was like, oh shit, we got an NBA team,
right?
But it still was kind of like a joke, if you will. And then we got Shaq, and then and Penny, and Dennis, and Nick, and Horace, and it just felt like, okay, I seen a lot of unity going on during that time, and it's amazing what sports teams does to a city.
Man, sports teams bring morale to the city.
Right.
They bring morale to the city. It brings unity to the city.
Right.
It does a lot. It brands the city as well.
Right. Right.
Again, when you thought of Orlando at one point, it was just Disney. But now, Orlando is become one of the biggest tourist attractions in the world. So when you think about Orlando, now you're gonna start thinking about the sound of Orlando.
Right. Right. Now, speaking of sound, talk about. I mean, you went to Evans. Shout out to Evans. That whole movement. That Brian McKnight. The list goes on of all the people that went to Evans.
Yeah,
Edgewater. I still gotta say Edgewater. I went to Edgewater. But shout out to Evans.
Shout out to Edgewater. I mean, we play Edgewater. Edgewater's right down the street.
Right.
I mean, hey man, shouts out to Edgewater and Oak Ridge. Yeah. Oak Ridge.
The Ridge, yep, the Ridge.
All the schools, Dr. Phillips, DP,
Yeah. And but people, went to Evans, and a lot of my comings and goings with the idea of growing up and being in that Pine Hills during that time, of all that energy. I mean, it was, we had Spoo J Spoob out there. We had a lot of people out there doing their damn thing. Shout out to Julia. And
yeah, we ran together.
Yeah. And you had that whole movement out there. Talk about what it was like to see because you were there from the beginning. Talk about what it was to see the hip hop, culture starting to percolate in our city when you did see it.
Well, you have to go a little deeper than I guess what people would know. Older people would know where it really, really started from. But you had people like Clark J. Smith.
Yeah.
Which he came down from New York. He was a guy that owned some publishing, some records like The Roof Is on Fire, What People Do for Money, the Questline, records like that. He came from New York when there were no labels involved. I mean, there were no labels. He came down here. He set up on Ferguson, right off of 50, and Old Town Records was born. And
Old Town Records.
Yeah, Old Town Records. You had my man Dickie Hazley. Rest in peace to Dickie Hazley. He was a mentor for me at one time as well, just like Clark J. Clark J. knew my grandfather. Rest in peace to my grandfather, Josh Winter. But so I had a chance to get mentored by older people, and watch it grow from there. So like when Clark came with the Old Town Records, the first group he had was Condition Red. And
Condition Red.
that's right. And if you from Orlando, you know
Yes.
about Condition Red. Don't get caught slipping.
Yep.
That was the
Yes.
shouts out to Dog Man, Darren Spencer. He was in the see, he don't think I remember, but he was in the back of that Cadillac. And don't get caught slipping in the video. So shouts out to that.
And that was during that was during the era of rolling up my nigga, like all that shit that was going on, right? Yeah. And yeah, man. I mean, it was happening. It was like a slow drip, but it was happening throughout the city in a way that it just felt good to know that we had things bubbling out here for us.
Yeah.
And that was before Black radio. That was before hip hop radio or R&B radio. We had WORL and WOKB.
Yeah. That was it. Russ Allen, matter of fact, Russ Allen was the program director at the time when my record was played. Actually, he called me and said, hey, man, we're going to play a record. And shouts out to my boy Tony C. We went to school together. We went to Evans. He's an Evans alumni as well.
Shout out to Tony. We're going to have him on next week. Shout out to Tony C.
We had a show. We had a clique called The Wise Men. It was me, Tony C.
I remember The Wise Men. Yes, I remember that. Yes. Yeah. Oh, man, you took me back, bro.
Right. We had that, we had that clique. And it was just because Tony, he was up into the radio, being a radio personality and stuff like that. And so he held that side down, and then I was into the music and the production, and then we had a videographer, and so we had like a little collective, little group going on back then. But Tony actually played the record on like a slam and a jam it type of thing.
Right.
And so did Thriller Player. Van, shouts out to Van Bryant.
Shouts out to Van Bryant, former guest on the show. Yes, sir.
Right. He did the same thing at one point. And Dogman, too. He had an underground radio station. Actually,
shout out to Dogman. Yeah.
Dogman was actually the first person to play the record because, he had that underground station popular. And so,
those who don't know, that underground station was over there off of OBT, right by the expressway. I was blessed enough to DJ on that station a few times. Shout out to Trey. Shout out to all the cats that was on that station, man.
Yeah,
it was just a beautiful thing.
It was a lot of guys. Baby Lack, Lick'em Low.
Right.
The boy Jeff Ski was on. It was just, we had so much fun. But like I said, but back then it was about the grind, and we were just all learning as we went.
Right.
But to get back to the basics, like I said, Clark J, he started the Old Town Records, that Condition Red movement, and then you had Barry Dufay, which was a good friend of my father. Barry Dufay was rocking in the Chitlin circuit back when my father was playing in the Chitlin circuit.
Right.
So as a kid, I grew up watching, didn't know it then, but as a kid, I grew up watching Barry Dufay and all these people, you know what I'm saying? And now Barry Dufay is Rip It Records.
Shout out to Rip It Records. For those that don't know, they put out many hits. They're known for being, the bass Motown of, or the bass Motown wing of Orlando, because they were just putting out hit record after hit record. And they had a good team for, unlike clubs, record companies don't last that long, but for the time that they were going, it was a great thing for the city. Yeah.
So that's kind of where some of the sound and some of the organization started coming from. But then you had groups even before then. You had 8 Ball Productions. Shout out to Willie Wiz, and people like that. Even before then, that was getting organized. So, but I grew up a youngster looking at all this and basically, just creating my style and I started producing. I think, matter of fact, shouts out to Darren again, Dog Man. He was probably one of the first ones to pay me for a track, when I started producing, So I'm in the city of Orlando,
Right.
So
That's awesome, man. Shout out to Dog Man. Shout out to 8 Ball. Um, I've reached out to Dog Man and Lack. I definitely want to have them part of this show and story. Their story is important for the city. For a lot of people that were in the in or in the no crowd, we knew of these people. This because we were part of the life. But for a lot of people in this city, don't realize all the unsung heroes that contributed to pushing something forward. Kind of, creating a lane when there wasn't any lane.
Right, because there wasn't really like because 102 Jams was a pop station that once. It wasn't really.
Well, right, they weren't really like. How can I say this? 102 Jams definitely was more representative of the city in the very beginning than they were as they went in years. They became more distant from the city, more concerned with just profits than they were when the likes of rest in peace Bartell, the Tony C's, were there pushing for representation of our city. And even then, that was our only option. And that's where pirate radio came in. We needed that pirate radio. Yeah, it was illegal. Yeah, people were probably involved, could have went to jail for a long damn time, fucking with them feds. But that tells you the dedication, how much it was worth risking all of that to have our fucking voice.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It was definitely on some guerrilla shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but like you said, we just at the time people were doing what they had to do to be heard.
To be heard, man, because no one would do anything like that.
Now he has a show on 106 to beat, Suicide Squad. So I mean, my hard work paid off. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to my man Low Balls who's gonna be he know about that pirate radio.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing was we wouldn't have never felt that way if we didn't feel like we were being suppressed.
Right.
That's a reaction to not being able to be heard and hear yourself in the city as relevant and existing. And it's funny how fucking 2 decades later, we're still sitting in this fucking boat of media that does not represent the people here. They only tell the news, and for the majority of it, it's bad. Oh, this and this happened, or they don't really have the power, and we'll give kudos to that, to actually make any change because the people there's not enough people complaining about it. Because it's to an extent, and I'll agree with that, it's not relevant anymore. Right. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I do know one thing. We're in a city where there's pride, there's normally a bustling groups of people just creating and doing different things to set our city apart from everywhere else. And this is, it's part of, like you said, growing up, there was a lot of people, Johnny Wright, talk about what Johnny Wright meant to you, and the Cheetah Records, all of these things that were here kind of like to be our way of saying, we're here, we're alive.
Well, Cheetah Record, Magic Mike, I'll get to Magic Mike and Cheetah first. I mean, Magic Mike was pretty much, he was that dude. I mean, he was the dude in the clubs. He had the parties going, the parties jumping. I was still a little young. I ain't gonna tell my age, but I ain't that old. But I was a little young when Mike was doing his thing. I kind of started going out more so when Nasty, Hitman, like Caesar, Nasty,
yes.
They were at the Rotary, Kirkland, and I was at This Is It, Headlights, Massage, JJ was all them clubs, I had a chance to experience. But as a kid growing up, I heard about Magic Mike. You know, and I knew that, he was a force to be reckoned with. And so,
well, he was a good thing as well, you know, in concert with Cheetah Records because, you know, one of my boys, shout out to rest in peace Frankie, you know, they had a, you know, group on Cheetah Records called Real to Real. He died before the project was able to be released or murdered, if you will. But it once again, you know, talking about kids from the city, you know, kids growing up here, looking at the world as their heroes to know, like, okay, well, shit, we got heroes right here. It felt good. It felt right to know that, you know, we live amongst our people here and we're doing something important. And then, like you said, with that, you know, when Johnny Wright came in the picture, shout out to Dakari. I reached out to you, brother, anytime now. You know,
I remember Dakar from back in the day. Dakar used to do all the
right.
a lot of the engineering and stuff.
Right.
And fight, you know, fight Ren, the German sensation.
Right. But they were part of a lot of different movements out here. You know, like
the
you know, with that Transcon and you know,
sure,
and NSYNC, Britney Spears, and
but that's what I was just gonna get to. Now, when Johnny was managing me, this was in 96, 97.
Okay.
96, 97. And actually, like I said, it wasn't just Johnny, it was his ex-wife, Donna, as well. Donna Wright. But, you know, I was doing shows, you know, I was opening up for Super Cat and, you know, all these, you know, different people. H-Town, you know, a couple other groups. What's the girl? Freak Like Me, Adele.
Adina Howard.
You know, so I mean, yeah, I was doing stuff. You know, I was working. It was a good experience. The stuff I learned from Johnny, I just learned that if you got a vision and you put it together, and you put the right team together, and you organize it, and you play your position, anything can happen. Because we would sit down and he would show me videos on Backstreet Boys while they were overseas, looking like the Beatles.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I remember telling Tony C, I was like, yo, bro, these white boys, they about to blow up. Tony, okay, you know. Man, not even 3 months later, when they hit the States, you already know what they did.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
but you know, that business model, it worked.
Yeah.
There was a market for, you know, during that time, music was still kind of grouped up, if you will. It was still a great time for music, even if there was some whack shit going on. It wasn't genreified as it is today.
Right.
Like you could listen to the radio, you might hear some fucking, you know, NSYNC. You might hear some Young MC or whoever the fuck was out at the time, and you had a diverse selection.
He was well, I know what you're saying.
No, I know that. I'm being facetious. But I'm just saying, like, you had a diverse palette to pick from.
Yeah.
It seemed like everyone had an interest in selling or promoting. It was like a hit station before the hit stations actually happened. Like, everything was hit stations when we were kids. Everything.
Not for nothing. I mean, after Old Time Records, Rip It Records, you had a couple other labels, you know, that was trying to bubble. That's the Will, man. Spanish Will, Sonny Chulo, Big Earl. They know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But like, it was labels trying to bubble. But Lou Pearlman, you know, rest in peace of Lou Pearlman. You know, he had the money. He had the money. Regardless of how he got it, he had the money, and you know.
He said, regardless of how he got it.
Yeah.
Isn't that always the story, isn't it?
But he had the money to set up.
He had the money, and he already had a working business model. Shout out to people that started lemonade stands and still find a reason to sell drinks. Like that. That's just, he started with New Edition. It worked, and all he did was scale what he did. He just brought it into a modern.
Yeah.
But those things always do work. We got that Japanese group now. That's the new boy sensation, boy band sensation. I don't think that ever dies, simply because it's a way to have girls watch a huge amount of guys at one time, and feel like they're doing some cool dances, and I don't think that business model will ever really die. It also says a lot about what the boy band is in versus where the band was, right? So the boy band replaced the band. Like it used to be when we were growing up, we would see the band.
It was a whole band, right?
It was a whole band, like and it was a beautiful thing. And then the band was replaced by the one producer.
Right.
So just have 5 dudes on stage.
You said that. My dad, he was saying, though, I remember when I first started producing, because we used to having hardware or whatever. We are anyway, but they used to, he was in the band. So I showed him a little keyboard and, I'm a little setup. He was like, man, hold up, man. What a band at? I don't see no band.
I don't see no band.
What's the band?
You know who I'm blaming? Damn it. I'm blaming Roger Lynn. I'm blaming MU.
Right.
They totally changed what we thought what the producer was supposed to be, but it's not a black thing. That thing was coming. It's not even a hip hop thing. I'd like to believe the MPC was made for hip hop, and the MU SB 1200 was made for hip hop. I like to believe that, but my personal belief is they were going to make it anyway. And a lot of the European bands were strictly on synths and trying to develop different drum patterns to where they didn't have to play those drums like that. The way they just program them and play some crazy synths and modulate some shit. And they were going to make that shit regardless. We just found out they made it and used it for hip hop.
Yeah, that's all.
They didn't make that for us.
No, that's all we did. We just found out, and we just started utilizing it. But to go back to just having the hardware and things like that. Now as a producer, on that side, the adjustment was somewhat easy, because we're more in the technology, I guess, side of things. You know what I'm saying? So.
What do you mean? No.
Well, what I mean
Explore
is
that.
What I mean is that coming from a producer standpoint, right? Like you came from probably the SP 1200 turntables, whatever. I came from keyboard, or the SSL.
No, I'm fucking offended that you just said that. Hey, stop the show. Stop the cameras.
What did I say?
No. But the MPC is where I come from.
That's what I meant. The MPC,
Right.
My bad. My MPC. But what I'm saying is that the sound that was being created before I guess we actually started producing, it changed somewhat as far as the technology started changing.
Right. Well, the 80s is responsible for that, because the 80s with electronic, just like videos became prevalent, it wasn't so much about the live show as did you have a good video. The MTV generation, things became more like, okay, well, if we're doing less shows, maybe I get more time in the studio, and computers were being made and flipped to kind of represent, like Herbie Hancock with that rocket. I just watched a post the other day of him doing, and I totally forgot about that show, when he won the Grammy for Rocket at the Grammys, and he did the whole show, and he had some of the robots, I think they were Rocksteady crew or something, maybe they were New York City Breakers, one of them, and I remember what this dude came from, a background in which all jazz sometimes is about traditionalism. Like, nah, you got to do it this way. You got to do. And Herbie was one of those dudes who's like, nah, dude. You know, there's a video floating around about him and Quincy, and he's showing Quincy all of this technology that looks crazy right now, you know. But he was showing him all of this shit, and he's like, nah, dude, you do this. I press this button. These sounds come out, and he literally made a song out of like synthetic stuff that wasn't even, you know, it was just sine waves that he turned into music. And, you know, you look back at that, and then you say, okay, well, boom. What we're doing is really what we were supposed to do, because it wasn't that we didn't want a band. Hip hop started with a lot of bands, Sugar Hill Band, you know, but we needed those machines, those keyboard sequencers that you can fucking, those motifs, man, you could do a whole album on that.
It started independence.
Right. Well, you couldn't afford a band.
You couldn't afford a band. Because, you know, not only that you couldn't afford a band, groups of people are hard to keep together.
Right.
First of all.
Right.
Okay. Me being in a group at one time, you know, it was 4 of us. But, you know, I could be cool one day, but the group member, he got an issue today.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So now
it's like siblings. You know, you grow up a loner. If you don't got no siblings, or you grew up maybe a lonely or a younger child with an older sibling, it's kind of like being the same thing. I experienced that. So my natural instinct is to think loner. Like, nah, I'll do this. I got this. You know, and that's not, you know, conducive for a band. Like, a band has to be, you know, a lot of role playing, a lot of compensating for, like you said, those issues.
The team sport.
It's a team sport.
No, it is.
But no, it is a team sport, but it's also a team in expectations, right? Like, everybody could say they could shoot the shot. Everybody wants the game-winning shot.
Right.
They don't see there's two sides of that game-winning shot. It's the courage to even shoot it, and it's the ability to make it.
Right.
You don't make anything if you didn't try.
Right.
But maybe sometimes trying stifles someone else. So all of those things you got to be cognizant of before even fucking saying, I'll take the shot. Pass it to me. And it's difficult sometimes to navigate those waters for long, extensive periods of time. In the honeymoon of it, it feels good. Music conquers a lot of shit. When you're just surrounded with some dope shit, you'll put up with some shit. It don't matter.
Yeah, of course.
Dude on drugs? Nah, I got you, bro. We good, man. Just rock that shit out, dude.
Right,
you know, this shit got a message? Nah, fuck all that. Shout out to Chuck D and Flavor Flav. That man stayed on crack. And it never stopped Public Enemy from doing what they do.
Executives been doing that since the beginning of time. A lot of the artists been on certain shit, and the executives, they look at it like, hey, man, just like that movie when Ray Charles was, you know, shouts out to rest in peace to Ray Charles, but when he was going through his illness,
right.
The man said, well, do you hear that shit, though?
Right.
I know he itching and all that, but do you hear what he playing? Do you hear what the man's saying?
Right. You know, a good meal,
right.
a good meal can kill an attitude and a belly, but no meal won't do shit. And a lot of times we tend to look at the team concept of what it takes. Nobody's really born leaders in the regard of asking themselves, why I gotta lead? Those are the best leaders, the leaders that don't want to lead, because they're not seeing what their value, yet they know it. And those people can find the diamonds in the coal. I've been in a group for a long time myself. It wasn't easy.
Yeah,
you have to navigate waters. There's a reason why people go solo, simply because it seems easier. But like most things, you lose something on the solo and you lose something in the group. And it differs from era to era. So if, as a young kid, you can kind of bury yourself in a group. When you get older, you want your character or identity shown a little bit more. And then the older you get, you just want the group back because it just feels good. It's like having family. That's that's a musical family. It feels good to have people around you that feel the same way you do about music, because that shit is hard to find.
Right. Well, because I play team sports, I know what it feels like to win together.
To win together, right? Boom, right.
And the sacrifice together,
right?
I know what that feels like, because So, when I was in the group, to the extreme at the time, they were on. They had just got off of MC at Gasoline Alley.
And, shout out to Gasoline Alley. I haven't heard that fucking name in a minute. Damn.
Yeah. And actually, Frida Mays, rest in peace to Frida Mays. She was managing the group. She was managing to the extreme. She was managing Thrill the Player, Van.
Shout out to Van. Let's go.
And yeah, man, and like I said, I had already had the record on 102, so that was bubbling. I was doing shows with Earl, Big Earl, and
shout out to Big Earl, Lugo,
and what happened after that? Oh yeah, I got a call from Arthur Sims. Was it Arthur? Yeah, it was Arthur Sims, and I think Rob. I don't know if you remember Rob. He's an R&B singer too.
Yes, I think so. Yes, of course. Yeah, I knew you
got a song called Foreplay back in the day.
Right. Shout out to Rob, man. That song was on that damn radio station all day long.
Yeah.
If you didn't know those lyrics, you damn sure had YouTube, and YouTube didn't even exist.
Right. Yeah, shouts out to Rob, man. I ain't talked to Rob in a minute, man. We got to catch up, my boy. But,
yeah, that song lived on the radio for a long time.
Now, when I was on the radio, I didn't have a deal. Now, Rob had a deal. Rob had a deal with Barry Dufay, which is Rip It Records.
Shout out to Rip It. Let's go.
So that's how that happened. That's how he got all that radio play between Barry and Louis Bell doing their thing, working their magic. That's how Rob, became Rob.
Yeah.
So, but he's also talented as well, and very successful right now. He's working with Justin Timberlake, a lot of artists, doing vocal coaching and stuff like that. I heard, so he's doing his thing.
Yeah, that's dope, man. My man Rated R, aka Ralphie, he said he knows who you are, and you know him.
I know Rated R. I believe I know Rated R. And a lot of people know me now. They see Christopher Kane. Now, Christopher Kane was born. Christopher Kane always been here, but a lot of people know me from the name Sage. So,
Sage, right.
So that was.
Shout out to Rated R. He because I got off the phone with him right before the show. And he's like, "Who you got on coming on tonight?" It's like Christopher Kane. It's like Kane. Man, I went to a few Magic games with that boy. You got him on tonight, and I'm like, yeah, because he was real good friends with Nick Anderson.
Okay, yeah, Nick Anderson.
And I think he used to live with Nick Anderson for a little while. They were like roommates for a little while.
Hey man, only thing I just didn't like, Nick, was when you blew the game for us. When you missed the free throw. You remember that game?
I would have wished that hell on anyone. And we just finished talking about team, right? This is what happens when somebody asks for the shot and that's not their shot to make. Right. That's why you gotta know, like I said, I normally trust the reluctant person than I do the person that says I'll do it. And that's crazy because confidence is everything. But confidence in lieu of wisdom and understanding sometimes isn't the best answer to things. Sometimes the smartest person is the coach. Sometimes the smartest person is is the the security, the defensive guy. You know, the person that's, you know, in the background. I'm not saying any of us know that fucking answer. If we did, this world would be a better place, wouldn't it? You know, we're playing Team Earth right now. We're having a hard time. So imagine you.
But that's what we ultimately, like we was talking earlier. You know, we want. That's what we want, even for this show. You know, we want the Sounds of Orlando show to become a brand. So when you think of Orlando and the sound of Orlando, you not only think of Christopher Kane, you not only think of DJ Rome, but you think of the whole city.
The whole city, man. The whole city. But that really breaks down to, once again, back to team, the value of your position. Most people undervalue themselves and most people overvalue themselves. Meaning, you know, Nick was in a position where he had to make those shots.
Right.
Those weren't the most important shots. He missed those shots and got cussed out. Probably whole team looking at him like
he missed the important shot.
No, I agree they were important, but it was the second game. The second game, game 2.
Yeah,
they already lost. They lost in game 1. They brought game 1 to game 2.
Right.
They were done. They looked defeated. Nick was still hitting bricks. He hit bricks really the whole series. And
I remember. Trust me. I remember.
And it was a smack in the face to doing to once again, and I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, the idea of taking everybody on your back and failing, that's fine. But you got to show up for game 2 and 3 because you have to show up. You cannot bring game 1 into game 2. And I think that was the most heartbreaking part because that was game 1. And I think Shaq felt some kind of way about the whole thing too. And that's why he left, because game 1 is one. People lose games. They have the #1 record in the league. People lose games. Nobody's mad at. You're an asshole if you're mad about losing. Nobody goes into business thinking they're going to win everything.
Well, if you don't lose, you don't.
You're going to lose.
Yeah,
it's how you respond to the laws that's the real problem.
That builds character. That builds the character.
Right.
I done lost a whole hell of a lot. And I done won some shit, but I done definitely lost too. And the way I am now, especially, you know, in my career now and you know, things I've got going on right now, it's from experience. Everything I'm doing is from experience now.
It's just like creating a business plan, right? If the business plan is filled with all of these hyperboles and dreams and all this kind of bullshit that, you know, maybe if you got a small child, they could have probably did a better business plan. And if you do that and you present that to someone, they're going to look at you and laugh.
Right.
Not because the plan might not be good, but because it seems like you're afraid to fail.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really what stands out. The ability to say, okay, you know, and I'm kind of tying all of this together. This is a city that has dealt with a lot of disappointment over the years.
Yeah.
We dealt with that disappointment of the Magic, which was, I know for a lot of cities, or New York or LA, life goes on, everybody goes about their business. You know, we got all this other shit going on. So we care, but we don't care. But for Orlando at that time, that was huge. There was a record company tied to it. We were part of that record company, Twism. There was a city that was waiting to have a reason to be like fully united, have that parade and bring out all the music. And we felt like, and I remember like after that series, what the entire city felt like. It was horrible.
What happened? Shaq left.
Right.
The record company left.
We were stuck with Nick.
We had 3. Well, then we still had Dennis.
And we had Petty, but it just felt like
I'm
he
saying, I'm talking about
Shaq made the business model of abandoning. And I know if he looks back at it, he probably may not have made that decision right then and there. But I don't blame him because, and we were riding tough with him back then. And even that came as a surprise. So I know there was anger tied to that. Like you had to be angry to do something like that. And that's what a lot of people are dealing with right now. Bitterness. This idea of things didn't work out before. Why are they going to work out now? We're talking to city shit in a world full of selfishness where what's that going to do for me? And so there's a lot of that going on in the city. And I'm saying all of this to ask you, what's your feelings about the city in general? And what do you feel if you were mayor of this city or man about town, in the city? What do you feel should be done given all of the history? You watch these business models. I don't think the business model's ever changed. It's the same business model. All right, we're going to bet all of our money on this horse here. And it's your job as the horse to get the whole city behind you. And I just think we have enough evidence that that's not going to work. That's not what's going to bring us together because we suffer from our diversity. We're diverse people.
Oh, absolutely.
So we have to be inclusive, just on general principle.
Yeah.
We have to be bilingual. We have to reach everyone. We have to talk, go out there and kiss babies and shake hands. We got to do that.
Yeah.
Unlike other cities that may not have to do that. But give me your opinion. I want to hear your shit.
Well, I mean, Orlando, first of all, is a melting pot of all different cultures.
Yes, sir.
You have a big Caribbean culture here.
Yes.
You have the people like myself. You have Native Americans. You have, just you got everything that you could think of is here.
Right.
Especially when it comes to Caribbean or anything like that.
Right.
But I think once people understand that there is a group of people trying to collectively build the city.
No, you're wrong. You don't want a trip to Hawaii. What's this consolation prize? No, it's not that, bro, because I don't think they do know, or the gravity of it. Maybe they do know, but they don't know the gravity of it. Like they don't realize that there are people right now trying to bring the city together, but there's not enough of us.
The thing is, look, man, Orlando came up with cliques. Like it was cliques. It was
right.
Cliques.
Represent your clique. Right.
There wasn't no gangs and none of that shit. I mean, like it is, it might be some gangs now because of different interests, but it was about cliques. It's about relationships.
Relationships, right. And we were guided by the relationships that we built, which were very neighborhood related. Like I said, the East Side in the beginning, the East Side had its relationship with itself for a long time. South Side, Kissimmee, BBL, they had a relationship with themselves for a long time. Yes. So same thing with the West Side.
Right. The West Side was his own side.
Was his own side, period.
I never even went to the East Side unless I had to. For real, I'm just saying. And then I didn't, you know what I'm saying? So, but we had our own different sections. Now, if you were a person like myself, see, I didn't have that issue. When I was coming up, I was cool with the East Siders. I was cool with people on the West Side. I was cool with people from Kissimmee.
But you're not going to say that without saying why.
Why?
Because why?
Why was I cool personally?
No, why were you cool with everyone?
Well, because I understand. I understand team. I understand.
Boom,
It's a it's a
boom.
it's a bigger picture because I know if I'm cool with everybody, even outside of the city. I went outside of the city. I went to LA in '98
Right.
and stamped my mark with people like Jay Brown and did stuff with Michelle A on Death Row. You know what I'm saying? And then I went to
Right.
Atlanta and worked with Jeezy and
Right.
and Don Cannon and Sharifa and all these other people. I stepped out once I felt like I conquered what I could conquer within the city. I stepped out the city and started to bring my movement to different parts of the fucking country. But what I'm
Right.
saying is within the city itself, because we're so small, right? I feel like the reason why I said I feel like once people understand that there is a group of people that are collectively trying to build something, either you're gonna do one or two things. You're gonna get on board or you ain't. You ain't gonna be. Either
Right.
you're gonna get on board or you not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to Jesse Jazz. He said, we are too separated by cliques, hoods, genres, and friends who don't support the others as a city. And he's
Right.
absolutely right about that.
That's
Simply because, right. Simply because we can reduce it all down to a gravy that everyone can consume, which is this idea or notion that I have to agree or move with everything that the other is doing. There, I don't even know where that should exist under any other circumstances. But that expectation is put on us.
But see, the thing is, it's bigger than just the city of Orlando not being able to come together. It goes deeper. It goes back to the Willie Lynch syndrome. It goes back to that type of shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You got to understand, Florida is still the South.
I got you.
Right.
And I'm agreeing with you because I understand that it is deeper. And
it's deeper than that.
Without once again, there's a certain population that can even receive that, first of all. Because there's a lot of our population that may not even see themselves as a recipient of that. Like that's a black thing. And once again,
well, not really. No,
we know that. Yeah, we know that.
It's not a black thing. It's a.
We know that. We know that.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah.
But the argument is, for a lot of people, and I'm only really highlighting the people that benefit from our division. It's not for the people that are in the know, because we get it. It's just a matter of how do we do it.
Well,
that's our issue. You
got to lead by example.
Right.
You have to lead by example.
But for those
and a person being from the city of Orlando, it's just like I'm not going on religion or nothing like that.
No, just talk your truth, brother. Tell your story.
It's like this. When Yahshua was at home, he was not respected. He had to go out to get respect, and then the people started to follow because he was leading by example.
Right.
So you take this show, you take this movement. Okay, right now people are looking, they're watching, they're observing.
Right.
So what happens is you lead by example, and then the people will come.
Right.
Even if they come from outside the city. But guess what? When the people inside the city see all these people,
right,
at the social event, the Sounds of Orlando events, or whatever we decide to put on,
right,
they gonna follow, because guess what? Most people are followers anyway.
Right, and I love what you just said. And shout out to Jay-Z. I'm gonna run this bitch into the floor because it is the truth, and it could never be said a better way. We don't believe you. You need more people, and that's it's the acknowledgement of how important presence is. Like it's the idea of, yeah, you'd rather not have your father or your mother because maybe they are not perfect, or you rather have them around even with their imperfections.
Right.
You know, like most people would choose, yeah, I'll take my mom. I'll take my dad if I could get him. And, you know, it's this concept or idea that our presence is valuable. I just got on, like I said, I was talking to Rated R tonight about this concept or this idea of why are we following people that aren't helping anyone?
Right.
They're only helping themselves. And the trick is, how do we do more for people that are unwilling to help anyone but themselves, want you to follow what they're doing for life, but at best may bring one person that they help? I'm not saying that numbers are everything and we should judge a person by how many people they've helped, because that's bullshit.
Right.
But this idea of we live in a place in which we should be invested. Do It All said last night, if you love your city, things will change. I thought that was fucking dope. I mean, he already got it, and I didn't even think I wouldn't expect that from him.
If you love yourself, things will change.
Right. So this idea of we expecting all of this, everybody's supposed to do business right, everybody's supposed to be this fucking perfect being, and allowing that to be the fucking blockade from where we're supposed to be going, which is bullshit, because at the end of the day, everybody's going to bring something to the table that no one would agree in. But you're not going into business with them exclusively. We represent an entire movement as a city, just like all these other businesses that are out here. There are people that rent homes and they follow the guide of the law. They're not mean to their tenants. They take care of whatever was broken down. And then you got slumlords. Well, we shouldn't get rid of renting because they're slumlords.
Right.
It doesn't mean we should like what they're doing, but the whole concept is we all have a vested interest, because we want people, like Jesse was talking about, supporting the culture of the city. They already support the tourism of the city. They already support the businesses of the city, but do they support the culture of this city, which is the heart of the city? It's the heart of Orlando. Yeah. And our story right now, in its infancy, and I say infancy affectionately because when I think the world hears it, this will probably be the bastion or the Mecca, if you will, of music for years to come. We'll be dead by the time that shit wears off, simply because we are that transit city, simply because we have so much stories to tell that have been silenced, been put aside. Nah, dude, we can't fuck with you because it's from Miami. You ain't from Miami. Or you ain't from Atlanta. Or you ain't got these people following you. Or you ain't got this. Like, you're not worth. We've been told in our city we are not worthy enough to be a part of the overall story of our city, unless we're doing or connected to the people that these people are connected to. And I think that's bullshit. I think once we open the lane for all of our people to have a space, and people are going to be left out, there's nothing you can do about that. But that's not what the city's motivation should be. So like the Magic, there's people that come in, they're Knicks fans. Let them come too.
Right. Well, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, they got to support the Magic. But the fact that they even walked in that door, paid the ticket, and they're a Knicks fan, I think that's beautiful. That's awesome. And that's what needs to happen for our culture here.
Listen, bro, what you got going on right now with the Soul Show is basically it's a foundation. Everything that's successful has to have a foundation. You have to have a foundation. So this is the foundation, the Soul Show, in regards to exposing the talent, that is here in Orlando, whether you're born and raised or not. I just so happen to be born and raised here. But there's a lot of people that migrated here or whatever that still represent the O. Still
represent it.
You know what I'm saying? So regardless of if you born here or not, if you here, you say you repping the O, you repping the O. And that's what it is.
Right.
So, but uh, the foundation is this is the foundation right here.
I
So,
appreciate that, brethren. I
no,
appreciate that. And I, as a reluctant soldier who didn't even know I'd be doing this madness, or didn't even know I would be speaking to people regularly every night about my vision of what I think the city is. Um, I, like I said, you don't know what that means to me. I believe we all have a purpose. Sometimes we walk into our purpose being like, why I gotta do this? You know,
that's
that's why
right.
you gotta have a personal relationship with God and the universe, because it's not always kisses and hugs. It's if there is resistance, you know the cost of what you got to do something sometimes, and that's okay. Because once again, a man is not judged about what he achieved for himself; it's who he helped. You know, we have an obligation at times or responsibility in our city that we lived here long enough and we could have helped some people. We didn't. The fuck are we doing?
Right. Right.
Are we the very thing that we has been the Achilles heel of us? Of hurt or of harmed others. At the end of the day, people remember people that help people.
Yeah, and that's what this show is doing. It's helping people. So people are going to remember this platform. You know what I'm saying? And people are going to remember the opportunity that they had to tell their story or to speak on whatever it is they want to speak about. Because it's an opportunity that has been created, and that's what it's about: creating opportunities for everyone in the city to win. You see what I'm saying? So when people come to Orlando from outside the city, they know, hey man, these guys, they got a coalition, they got a conglomerate, they're organized. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? So when you come here, you know you're gonna deal with certain things. And
Right.
certain things don't be in place. So
Right.
somebody has to be that sacrificial lamb and not be afraid of taking a chance. You
Well,
know,
thank God for crazy, because
hey man,
that's the only thing sometimes that saves my ability to ignore the obvious. Like once again, we all want to be conduits of things that are amazing, but the very thing that we want to be conduits to that are very amazing are the very things that we get in the way of because out of fear. You know,
yeah,
um, I tell people all the time, like, I think about the cost of me being the front man of anything and what that is and what that looks like to other people. And
mm-hmm.
not because of me, because, I have a family like yourself and, you
Right, right,
know, you know, we live in a world that's cold blooded that can't wait to discredit something in which, once again, you know, they don't go off morality. They go off of what's funny. They go off of what's trending, and that may not always be in your favor. We always celebrate when the numbers are in our favor,
yeah,
and we want to live in a world based off numbers, based
right,
off facts.
right.
When them numbers aren't in your favor, that bitch is cold blooded.
Yeah. Well, you gotta have a little, a little faith before the numbers come. I don't know nobody successful that just was born successful. Like you gotta work for this shit.
Right.
Even creating numbers or whatever it is. You have to work. You gotta grind and you gotta put in effort, and you have to know your purpose. And once you know your purpose, that's anything, whether it's music or you want to be a lawyer or whatever. Once a man has a purpose, he's like an eagle. He's gonna fly. He's
Right.
gonna go get it. But if you don't got no purpose, you don't got no goals, you ain't trying to do nothing.
That's
Everything that somebody do is gonna be is you gonna hate because you ain't got nothing going. You know what I'm saying?
right. That's why I don't understand the idea or the concept of a citywide effort in doing something for our city, because the business models have already been laid. They're already present. And it's like I was talking to my mans, and I'm like, why would anyone follow someone that at best may help you, but ain't gonna help nobody else? And you're betting on you being the hero of someone else's movie in order to bring someone else on. And the cycle continues and the cycle continues instead of it being a group effort like business. When people open up businesses, they're banking on the mall, not fucking, Macy's. Store. They're banking on the mall, the location,
Right.
the parking.
Right.
They want it so inviting that everyone will go.
No,
These business models have been laid. They're proven. It works. The more inviting it is, the more you don't know who your audience is, the more audience you get. When you're fucking telling people who can come and who can't come, and we watch this unfold every single time. It should be a representation of the entire city. All of our Latino brothers, all of our West Indian brothers, all of our people from here. Like it should all of people from New York. It should represent all of us because we all have a vested interest in the city, and it should be all of us. It shouldn't be left on one man. The more the merrier. Yeah, this should be a no-brainer.
And it will, and so it is done, my brother. You know what I'm saying? And
this is a no-brainer.
No-brainer. It's happening right now. It's happening right now. You know what I'm saying?
Talk about what your production is inspired by. I heard some of your stuff. It's really dope. Talk about what that is and how that incorporates your story or the story of the city, and what are you working on now that people can look forward to?
Okay, so you said talk about what my production.
What are your production style incorporates? I've heard it. I think it's dope. I think it definitely encompasses the sound of our city.
Well, I'm gonna just start from. I'm not gonna be long with it because
right.
Show's almost over, but to start kind of from the beginning of that, as far as the production aspect, the first.
And this is for my gearheads too. This is for my gearheads, people that enjoy gear tech talk.
Okay, well, you're like you say, you like the MPC, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, I play keyboard, so my thing, instead of me going to get the MPC, I went and got Triton keyboards. I went and got Roland keyboards. I went and got.
Shout out to Triton. Triton was the Motif was my dude. I didn't like the Triton. I only liked the sounds. I didn't even like touching that stupid touchscreen. Like I just wanted the sounds. The strings on there were insane.
Yeah.
They're still insane.
Yeah.
And like you were talking about, like with the Motif was. I wasn't really like the sound. They really improved on the sounds. What's that new one they got now?
What, the new keyboard?
The new Yamaha. It was at the it's with everything on it.
I don't know. I ain't gonna lie to you. The last, because that's the thing right now. Like, I don't even use keyboards no more.
Right.
Unless I'm playing live, but for me, just doing my pre-production programming, I got my Mac and my USB keyboard, and that's pretty much it. You know what I'm saying? But because the VSTs and the plugins is everything.
Right.
So
I'm gonna bring up the argument of plugging things into plugging things in. I just love the noise when you plug something into something. I still got my ASR 10, and I love the noise that comes out of it. Right. And like even my MacBooks, I plug them into something else so that it captures whatever noise. Like I got the MPCX, and so it goes through the MPCX, then goes into a DAC King 90 preamp, and then it goes into a Focusrite. So there's several different patches before he
I mean,
gets.
you know, when I'm at the studio now, when I'm at home, it's different. But when I'm at the studio, of course, we're going through you know analog preamp.
Right.
The not the Apollo, damn, it's not too much time. The silver,
Antelope.
huh?
Antelope.
No, it's a preamp. It's
The preamp. You talking about the Avalon?
Avalon, yeah, the Avalon.
And that's
So I'm
worth all of its amount of money. Just
Yeah,
so
yeah.
everybody knows.
Yeah, the Avalon is dope.
You paying $2,000 for that circuit, for that plug. As soon as you plug that XLR into it, you know why you paid the $2,000 for it.
Yeah.
And it's a friendly preamp that works with a lot of different mics. The U87, if you will.
My first top 10 single, which was Fired Up by Eddie Whispers, aka Self, which was distributed on Warner Electric Atlantic, which is weird. Actually, shouts out to Clark J. Again, he helped me with that project. But that was my first top 10 record, and I produced that with the Triton.
Dope. And a lot of dope ass shit has been done on the Triton. I had it for a brief time. I've always paired up machines with keyboards. Some stuff you can play as samples, some stuff you need to play as a keyboard. And it's just, those have been great things.
Only because I was a keyboardist, though. Now, if I would have, I mean, even though I'm a drummer too, but I mean, it was just because I could do everything with the keyboard. I could program my drums and all that.
Yeah, but those strings on that Triton, you're not getting from anywhere.
No.
They now got a new plugin that mimics what the Triton was. Shout out to that whole movement with that Korg move. It's a Korg plugin for Triton. And you can actually, it doesn't sound exactly like it, but it is a Korg Triton plugin. But yeah, like there's certain sounds you're just not gonna get. Like they talked about the 12-bit emulation on the MPC-X. You don't really get that. You need that. You have to have, even if you don't do anything with the SB1200, and you just run an in into an out and out into that's the only way you're gonna get that emulation. Like that's the only way you're gonna get that sound. 3000, the same thing. Like the ASR 10 is the same thing. I've never heard a reverb on any other machine like the ASR 10.
On the drums?
On it, well, just what it does is there's a natural reverb it puts on everything on that machine.
Yeah, I normally, if I use the ASR, it was like only for drums and stuff like that.
Right, but it just you don't put the effect on there; it's already on there.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But that's how it is now with the VSA, with the VSTs and stuff. Like
right.
Depending on what you got in your Mac or whatever you using.
Your arsenal, right?
You Gucci. I'm telling you, man. You don't really need to do a lot unless you want to run it through, like Vaughn was saying. You run it through an SSL or whatever. You get that analog. Right. You got the SSL plugins.
It seems like very little to have to go through that, but that shit is everything. It's like the icing on the cake, man. It just sounds and feels different. Yeah. The clarity works a lot for R&B, but there's some R&B that like that SOS band grit they had on that fucking sound that and I know, shout out to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. They had a lot to do with that Taboo sound. Taboo Records, just in general, had this sound to it that it was just like, man, what are they doing over there?
Yeah, actually,
dope.
When that first track, the Can't Be Second Best record that was on 102 that Russ Allen put on there for me. Actually, me and DJ Nasty and his brother Lenny, shouts out to Lenny, we produced that record together.
Yeah.
In Nasty's garage off of Oak Ridge. This before Nasty was, he had the big crib and they had All I Do Is Win records and all that. This is he was still in the garage.
He was still in the garage. I think he's still in the garage a little bit, but he was still in the garage.
It's a garage now.
Yeah, it's a bigger garage, but he's still a garage. But yeah, no, I feel you, man. Like,
You know?
and shout out to Nasty because Nasty, you know, they were able to have a lot of the machines first. Not Nasty, I think Khaled had it first,
Yeah.
and he was shown how to use it, and you know, but once people like them, and you know, people like ourselves were able to get those machines, I just think it was a life-changing moment. Like now, I'm just to the point where you put me in front of anything, I'll figure it out, and I'll get something out of it. I'm not really machine like loyal. I'm not a machine loyalist. I could care less. As long as it got some plugs in it, I could plug it into something else, and I feel like I can rock with it. But some of the best machines I've ever worked on were by Roger Lynn. That 3000 was sick.
Yeah, the lens run, that was crazy.
That shit is sick. I wasn't a fan of the SB 1200. But that was because of my ignorance of not realizing how important that 12-bit fucked up circuitry was on the back. Is it worth $7,000? Probably. Just because of the outs that it uses. Like each one of those channels are jacked up. You know, they're not going to all sound the same. And I love that about that. Now, as an older person, like I would like to add that sound to it. What say you about what some of the tools that you use? Don't give away all your secrets. Just one or two that you could give away and say, hey, you know, if you try this and you do this, blah, 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 certain things can happen if there is anything like that.
Well, I mean, I'm an engineer too, so I mean, in regards to producing or engineering or just creating a sound.
The sound. Let's go.
I mean, well, the only thing I can do is tell you, you know, some of the methods that I use to
like a great example, right? Like a great example. I had a UA LA2A. I really love that fucking machine or that piece of gear.
You know, it's just wrong because everybody, you know, like I'm like we in the age to where we're not necessarily. If you want, it's preference now. If you want to use
right, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like I had. Like for me, for that UA LA2A for me allowed me to not have to do much, if anything at all, when I brought it into the box. So now I can just kind of shape it.
I use Logic Pro X.
Right. So shout out to all my Logic users.
I use Logic Pro X, and
what's one of the things in Logic that you love using that maybe people are not up on?
Well, shouts out to my man OZ, Ethan 305, Van J. Well, OZ hooked me up, man. I got everything in my Mac when it comes to Logic, like all the VCs, whatever, anything you can think of, all the sounds, whatever sounds you can think of.
Right.
I mean, everything is in there. So all I gotta do is just listen. That's it. I just play and listen. And if I like something, I'm playing and I'm putting it down.
So what's more important, the plugins or the monitors?
Well, I mean, the plugins, because the monitors, I mean, that's just to hear the music out. I mean, of course you need good monitors to listen.
Right, but to be able to kind of contrast the two.
Headphones, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
To listen. So ultimately, the plugins is more important, I would say, than the monitors. But of course, you need good monitors. You know, but if you got good headphones, you can hear, you know, get a true sound too if you mix in or whatever.
Which I tell my kids all the time: stay away from the fucking headphones. And I'm not really a fan of headphones, and I've never really worn headphones outside of the damn Walkman and me DJing. Like one ear, and I've mostly DJed with no headphones most of my life because you don't realize how much you're blasting into your ear. and so you have to listen to things quietly.
Yeah,
right? In those headphones, and most people don't. They just turn that shit up. I didn't feel that shit.
That's a mixing trick. Most people that engineer, they know that when you're mixing, you have to listen to things low, at a low dB.
Right, at a quiet, real quiet.
You can't listen. You can't mix or even listen to certain mixes when it's loud. You know, so you have to. It has to be low. You know.
Right, but good luck with that shit. Telling anybody to turn anything down. Yo, turn that shit down. Turn down for what? Like, come on, bro. Like, that's the hardest thing to tell everybody.
That's on you, no eardrums. Hey,
no, you need to relax.
I'm gonna keep my eardrums working. I
heard that, bro.
Hey, I know what to do now.
I heard that, bro. Ain't nobody trying to speak sign language out here. Shout out to all my people that don't have no hearing.
Don't disrespect nobody that got to do sign language.
No, man, no disrespect, but that shit is tough, man. Because in our business, and it doesn't get talked about a lot. A lot of people do lose their hearing, especially in radio.
Yeah. You got
not because they're in front of loudspeakers, it's because of headphones.
Yeah, you got to keep the headphones at a minimum, man. I mean,
but anytime you can take them things off and not use them at all, the better you are as far as hearing, because you don't realize how loud that signal is in your ear listening to it. And now we got these ear pods that literally go inside your damn ear, and it's like, you can't wait for losing.
Right. But yeah, Ron, that's pretty much what I use, man. Logic Pro X, Pro Tools, and like I said, all the VSTs. And if I do have some outboard gear, it'll be a nice keyboard or something like that. But most of the time, I'm USBing it.
Right.
To the Mac
as a MIDI controller. Right.
Right. So it's not like I'm using the sounds or nothing like that.
And you don't need to.
That's the way it is now, man. That's the way technology is now.
Yeah. If you had certain things that you could see that could be applied to the city in a better manner, what would they be and why? Just imagine, like I said, something you could see in the city done, and why? Why would you want that done?
What you're doing right now? Like I said, this is the foundation of all things to come, because it has to start from somewhere.
Right.
And not saying that this idea, what you're doing hasn't been thought of. It's about actually executing the idea, executing the thought.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
and how are you feeling about our hip hop culture in this city? And what do you feel about 2021 as far as, like, if you could kind of gauge, talk to our audience and say, hey, this and this, we got this going on, or maybe we don't. What say you about 2021 here as a fellow entertainer, musician, producer? What are you looking at in 2021? Yeah.
I'm trying to think how I'm going to answer this question.
Okay, bro. Yeah, bro.
Well, I mean, as far as the artists, the new artists, and that's coming out right now, that's doing this.
How are you feeling? Right. So, how are you feeling about this year as part of this thing of ours, and as part of a fellow contributor into it? What do you? I mean, just give us an idea of how you're feeling about all of what's going on right now as far as music, not only in our city but abroad. Maybe that'll help you.
I mean, I feel like there's things happening. There's changes being made. We got a lot of new talent out here. I feel like some of the talent is misguided. But that's just my opinion.
Right.
I'm not here to parental guidance people's lyrics or whatever.
Right. Because that's impossible.
Right. So, but I think some of the artists that we have there's some misguidance because there's no one actually, there's no OGs really, you know, coming to the forefront and like everybody is kind of, they're young and they gunning.
Right.
You know,
Well, right. You're right.
they're gunning. They just gunning. They gunning from that for that spot or for that respect. There's no organization. There's no, you know, hey man, you know, you ain't got to do this. You know, you can do this. You know what I'm saying? I don't think there's none of that. But at the same time, you know, some people have to learn from their own experiences. It's like having a kid. You can tell your kid, you know, all day long, hey man, if you go do this, you know, something could happen. But guess
Right.
what? He or she is gonna be like, well, you know what? Maybe not. I'm gonna try it anyway.
Right.
So you got to let them bump their head.
Right.
So that's kind of like what it is for the city as far as some of the new talent and people that don't have some of the experience that we have because I'm only mature because of the things I've been through.
Right.
So a lot of the guys that's coming up, they have to go through things first. They got to go through some stuff. And
Right.
then they'll come back and say, you know what, man, you know what you said, OG, you know, when you said that made a lot it didn't make no sense then, but now that I done went through this and went through that, I respect what you said.
Right. Right.
You know?
And
And
hopefully, as a community, as brothers and sisters, as a family, we start to recognize the value of moments. Right, like moments shouldn't always be digested and interpreted in that moment. Sometimes it requires a couple more years to interpret. You may have digested it, and you may not even. It may look like you even ignored it.
yeah,
But you know, we have to allow our people to adjust accordingly to their human clock.
long time. But there
Right,
has to be someone that's leading by example.
right,
So they have something to look up to or to look at and say, hey, okay, well, this is what, you know, this is what success look like in the city or coming out of this city. Let me follow the same pattern or, you know, the same, you know what I'm saying?
right. Uh, and that leads me to one of my last questions: is how do you feel about them catching the guy that shot that veteran and him being a Marine? I don't know if you know the whole story. Um, There was a person shot last weekend
You talking about
walking through a
downtown?
crowd. Yeah, downtown. He was walking through downtown. He's after the club's closed. He was getting something to eat. He walked through a crowd. They didn't like it, and they shot him. And
I
there's
heard,
also, huh?
I heard a little something about that.
Yeah.
I mean, you asked me what I think about that.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about that we're still having to deal with in Orlando after all of these years? The idea that we still hate each other. We hate the reminders of what we look like. We hate the reminders of who we are. We hate, like there's a hatred that you said it earlier. It runs really deep, and
Yes,
we're not going to talk. We're not going to be able to get
that's a whole
all
different.
those answers. That's a whole nother. But just the fact that 2021, we're still alive. We're still having to deal with the same fucking story. This dude looked at me wrong, or you shouldn't have walked in front of us like that, or you stepped on my shoe, or you talked to my girl, and that's enough to erase a person off of life, off the earth, and I think as fucked up as this may sound, I think it says more about that person and how they hate who they are, and how we haven't addressed that as a community out here. That for all of our games,
Mhm.
we're still not talking to each other enough. We figure I could tell you the answer and go about my day. Oh, yo, check this out, man. You need to get that money, son. All right, I'm out. And that's not the answer. Yeah, the answer is like a multitude of answers. Like we all, like I said, as a city, as a collective, as a neighborhood, as a street, as a block, as a family, like we all shouldn't be discouraged by our own failures to stop from saving the lives of others, right? Like, and that's crazy because for a lot of us, we don't think we're worthy enough to help anyone. How about that?
That's because you're fearful of your past.
How about that? Right. No, I'd like to think that is the reason. Not because we're just all selfish assholes that want to put up a phone and film the injustice, but that there has to be a reason of us feeling like, nah, that ain't none of my business, and I can't help them anyway. I fucked up too. Like we all kind of walk into the so-called heaven of security and having a home and raising a family, maybe having a consistent job, and still feel as fucked up as if you was homeless. Like not good enough to help anyone. Like, not good enough to talk to anyone. Even if nothing comes of it. We want everything to come from the person that we're giving, which equates to me of like you giving somebody money and then spending it for them, telling them what they can use it on. How's that giving anything? You didn't give anything to someone. You just basically use that person to make yourself feel better, and then you want to spend the money for them. Like you don't get to do that. You're giving of someone isn't to spend the money. We don't get that. We shouldn't be expecting to give of ourselves and then have them do what we want them to do. That's not giving. That's controlling.
Yeah, definitely.
And as people that suffer from, people telling them they're not good enough, we always have to fight for our rights and things like that, and just trying to be alive out here or exist out here. I just think we suffer a lot of times because we don't feel adequate enough, that we don't talk to each other enough because of that. Like I'm in no place to talk to you because my shit's fucked up. And I think that's a fucked up philosophy.
Well, yeah.
Because where you fail in one area, you may excel in the other. That shit ain't got nothing to do. That's like the sun. The sun helps us live, but it burns other things in the process.
Right.
And we don't view ourselves in that universal greatness sometimes. That we do have this one thing about us, but we also have these other things about us, and they're all valuable.
Yeah, well, communication is key. I mean, you said something about the gentleman that got shot downtown. Now, you said he was kind of like an innocent standby.
No, he was a victim. He wasn't an innocent. He wasn't.
He was a victim, but the bullet wasn't necessarily for him. What I'm saying.
They shot it at him. No, they shot it at him.
Okay, well, this might be a different story, but either way,
yeah,
communication has to be involved, and then there has to be respect when you communicate. Because
I don't think that's always the end result.
Well, what I'm saying is this is what I'm saying.
God don't always speak with rain. He speaks with thunder too.
Hear me out. What I'm saying is, I wasn't there, so I don't know what happened. But what I'm saying is, it has to start from somewhere. However he got shot downtown, there had to be some communication first. Somebody said something to somebody, or he did something. Whatever happened, there was
right. There was a response, right?
Because when you communicate, there's a reaction. Now, however you choose to communicate with an individual and how they respond to how you're communicating, who knows? You only know that once you start talking. See what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, when they started communicating initially, it went left in the communication. That was the foundation. See what I'm saying? Now, I don't know if he could have turned away or walked away. I don't know. I wasn't there. But what I'm saying is that we, as a people, especially in the city, we have to communicate with each other. We have to learn about each other. We have to get to know each other. Because
that part.
Because if we got a city full of artists and we not talking, only thing we doing is we walking by me mugging, or we showing our shine, or we more cooler than you, or vice versa. We not communicating. We're boasting.
Right.
And see, when you boast, that's a problem. Because if you're boasting, this person's boasting, she's boasting. Now you got a bunch of prideful, boastful motherfuckers.
Right.
With egos. So ain't nobody communicating. So you gotta let your guard down, stop being so cool, know how to speak to somebody, communicate. That's it. And if you disagree, learn to disagree without no beef. Just
keep it moving.
A guy
talk about it.
Detroit, asking me for some beats, right? I tell him, I send him my cash app. I said, well, here go my cash app. Here go the donation. He told me, don't worry about it. I said, okay, cool. He got offended because I sent him a cash app. But guess what? This is a business. And so if you want some production,
you want my time.
You want my
time. It's not even your production. It's your time.
My time. If you want my time, my energy, here's what you need to do. Now, if he would have communicated with me and told me, listen, well, I can't afford this or whatever, I would have in my mind said, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to approach this situation differently if I choose to.
And what is the difference between people actually doing that? I love what you just said, because what is the difference between somebody telling you they need money from you and you're included, and I want something from you and you're not included? And that's a lot of times how things, like you said, based on communication. When you talk to people, sometimes they ask you for things that don't even involve you, but expect you to jump. And then they don't realize the same dude that would not jump to that would jump to something he's not even going to get paid for in the short term, but he's willing to involve himself in something that's bigger than himself simply because the approach included him.
Right.
And this is where the communication.
The approach to him, and there was a rapport that was built, that was gained.
Right.
Communication.
Right. And the idea of inclusion, like including you in why this is important, is the difference to me of why it wouldn't be important, and it would be strictly just a money thing. Or like, dude, you're taking my time away from things that I really want to do. And if I'm not included in this, then I have to rate it on why I'm going to do it. And people don't understand that in that motivation. It simply because how it is brought to someone, like a business plan. When somebody feels like they're part of it, I mean, shit, hospitals donate to charity, even though that's not normal, their business. But part of how their business is successful is that they bring awareness to what they think is important. So a quarter of what they're trying to do requires them to do free shit to bring awareness so that people support their causes. And the same thing applies for any other business models. And this goes out to anybody that wants to get into business, wants to establish strong relationships with people. Think about how you're approaching people. If you want someone to do something for you and it doesn't involve them, then you should expect the same in return. The universe is not a crook. The universe it's not trying to rob you.
No, the universe gonna bring you what you brought.
Right. It's a reflection. It's a reflection.
It's a reflection. So whatever seeds you planted, that's the fruit you're gonna
right. If you bring something to a brother like Christopher Kane and tell him he needs to spend his valuable time. Anything after like 21 is all valuable for a black man. Like you spend any fucking time anywhere where there's no
about 40, so my time is
right, really valuable.
You
Both
can't get
blacks trying to kill you, so if you're able to spend any time with anything, that shit gotta be like purposeful, worth it, and everything.
That's right.
And if they don't get that, that's really not about you. It's more about them of not acknowledging how valuable their time is. And then two, inclusivity is everything in life, man. You can change a whole conversation if you include someone. But the minute you exclude someone, you present a situation in which your value is immediately dropped. This is why our numbers are so important right now. This is why us living right now is so important. This is why us communicating is so important right now. Because we represent a number that cannot be defeated under any other circumstances other than our own swords. Yeah. Like we are the ones to fall on our swords or to stab one another. But outside of that, our numbers is just too much. We have too much power, talent, vision, invention. Like we're inventors. We build things. We look at things in its entirety. And this is our moment, bro. This is our Renaissance time right now.
Yeah, man.
And I just believe that if we can see past our own mistakes, and really, in most conversations, you'll see, well, if you can see past his mistakes, if you can see past your own shit,
yeah, that's the key.
You will be able to see your brother as your brother, and not really tune in to their shortcomings, and just know, like, at least if I'm gonna be united with anybody, it'd be with people that get why we crazy, or get why we're going through the things that we're going through, or get why things aren't perfect in a real world. This whole culture came from nothing. It came from the absence of things that weren't there. And we created entire industries, an entire world of culture from absolutely nothing.
And guess what? And before all this internet stuff and all this stuff came out, we were communicating. That's how we was building.
Right.
It was actually what was I saying?
Shout out to Strange Flow with the jokes. I think I said I've been waiting 17 years for a hook. Ain't got no hook. I want my refund, dude. I want my refund. He told me it was Polar Cup, and it ain't Polar Cup.
Strange, I got you, man. I need one of them new shirts too.
I heard that, bro. You see. Hey, shout out to my man Strange Flow, man. He gave me this yesterday, man. This is bro. This is what we talking about, man. Support of each other, love for one another. May not be the thing that I want to do. May not be the thing that you want to do. May not be the thing that I believe in. May not be the thing that you believe in. But we should be believing in our city, our neighborhood, our town, our world, our nation, and allow people and support each other, man. If we have to have anything change right now, it comes from the pennies, not the dollars. These, we got several heroes that we got Jay-Z's, the Kanye West out here, the P. Diddy's, a lot of people right now got a lot of money. And thank God for that. Kudos for that. They did work hard to get it. But even their money is not enough to blind us from the necessity of numbers. So for all the money that they got, it's not enough to replace unity and replace our people.
Well, that's. I mean, look, Rockefeller, and I had a chance to talk with Bleak and Kareem Biggs at one time. Rest in peace to Chris Lighty. I had an opportunity to speak with Chris Lighty on many occasions. And they, like I said, they had the money, they had the success, but there were communication issues within the company. So that's why eventually people went their separate ways. And again, I can only go back to that. If you're not communicating with somebody, you don't know what their likes are, what their dislikes are. You don't know.
But why would you not be communicating? It has to be a few things.
Don't be surprised, Roman. You know. But in this business, people stop communicating because their ego getting away.
Right, but that's nicely dressed. Ego is a nicely way of saying of not forgiving, of being unforgiving. Because when you're talking about your ego has to survive based on the idea of not being human, like not acknowledging that you have to forgive yourself daily.
Right. But see, everyone's mind is not strong enough to know that it starts with themselves. As an individual, that's why I
wouldn't say strong enough. I think that's the wrong term.
No, listen what I'm saying.
Right. Go ahead.
You have some people that can't control their thoughts. They let their thoughts run rapid. You see what I'm saying? To the point to where whatever they're thinking, especially if it's negative, they act on that. You can't. So, because when you think of your mind, your thoughts run rampant, right? It's a battlefield. The mind is a battlefield. You're constantly battling good thoughts, bad thoughts. It's right. What thought are you going to act on, though? Is what I'm saying. Like the guy that killed the guy downtown, right? Before he shot that guy, I almost guarantee you that he was battling something in his mind before he.
You damn right he was. You damn right he was. And this is why I say about a community. When I talk about us and I say we, anything I talk about with this show ain't got shit to do with me. I say we, because this is for us. When you're talking about your circles and the idea of seeing somebody maybe suffering around you and you not being able to be, like you said, the person that actually does something, yeah, he's fucked up. But the circle that was around him that's seen all of this happening, and they seen it. They were like firsthand on it. And maybe they were just around them because it made sense. Maybe they would try to get something out of them. Maybe at the end of the day, maybe they just ignored it because they were just cool people. But at the end of the day, we all, as a neighborhood, as a community, we all bear responsibility in the things that we ignore and say, nah, that shit ain't my business. Because we grew up, I know growing up in Florida during them days, my generation, all I heard was say, mind your business, that shit ain't your business. Stay out of it. Don't say shit.
Yeah.
And keep it moving. Like we were told to be silent. We were used to because of our silence, because we would say shit. They would vote for these fucking Klan members. Because
there was nothing to document what you were saying anyway. Because it was your word against their word.
No, but it wasn't even an issue of that. Of the our place in history as, like you said, being black, growing up in the South, or being a person of color, because Latin people dealt with it too. We were all victims of this like molestation, if you will, of pitting ourselves against one another, being told that mind your business, shut the fuck up, or just stay out of it, worry about yourself. And we let each other down as a family because we were allowed to go at one another in a lot of different ways that to this day we're still dealing with. Like that, the dude that shot him was a Marine, and he was a damn the other guy was a damn Army vet or something like that. And though the military aspect may not matter as much as the willingness to, as soon as somebody sees you, they can garner enough hate to kill you. It don't matter whether they knew you or not. Don't matter if you said the right shit. I mean, many parents are dealing with this right now. a lot of parents out there, they did the right thing. They did everything right, meaning they gave them shelter. They tried to be the best parent that they could. And still, maybe the kids wound up being in prison. Maybe the kids still wind up doing certain things. That's not always a guarantee, because to our global point, people are people. But at the same time, if we are not communicating with each other on a regular basis, and you might be absolutely right, that dude might have said, man, fuck y'all. And that might have been enough to escalate something that should have been like, yo, chill out, man. It's not even worth it. We don't know, because we're all on the edge at times. You know, there's
you're
a
on
reason.
the edge of your mind, but you're on the edge of your mind until you actually speak something. That's when you offend somebody else. But see, me personally, through experience, I don't become easily offended. You can say whatever. I'm not offended.
It wasn't just the shooter's friends there. There was a lot of people there, according to Jesse Jazz, who took their phones out while the dude laid there and no one tried to help him. You're right. Because we live more in a moment of documenting tragedy.
Well, that's what I was trying to tell you.
Right.
What I was saying back then, we couldn't document shit.
No, we couldn't.
Only say what we saw. It was my word against this person's word or whatever.
Right.
Now, through technology, everything is documented.
Right.
So that's what I was saying. We live in a world where it's not about communicating. It's about documenting, what you got, what you don't got.
But that's a psychological response to trauma too.
Right.
Out of fear, our only weapon that seems to be consistently enough to work is the documentation of it, because we had none. That's our only weapon. We fight back. We don't have the numbers because we have been trained to be cowards. Not because that's our nature, because we are courageous people. We're fighters. All we know how to do, like naturally and dopely, is fight. So that shit ain't got nothing to do with courage. The courage part is, what do I gotta give up? Do I gotta lose my wife in the process? Are they gonna bring down my whole family? Are they gonna shoot me? Take my life away from me, take my income away from my family. So everybody comes into it scared about what they're gonna lose. They're looking at what they're gonna lose. It's not really about. It's not that they don't want to help anyone. They're scared. This is the only weapon that seems to work or seems to doing any justice right now, because our physical prowess, our fucking courage to approach a situation and say, yo, we ain't having that shit. Like, there was a time that Black Panthers represented was, if a cop rolled into the neighborhood, the whole neighborhood was riled up. Like, yo, get that shit the hell out of here. You're not going to do that here. And we're going to walk you literally out of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But we don't do that as a people because it's fodder. It's some kind of cool, because there's places of which you can actually advertise what happened. We all been guilty of watching World Star shit, which I think is poison. I think it's a mockery of our suffrage. Like, we made it a joke. Like, nigga, that's a whole nother story. But us fighting each other, that's actually like a mockery of us. Like, they're mocking that we're fighting one another. It's not bringing awareness to it in a positive way to me, because at the end of the day, we're still doing it.
Well, that's why we need more music, because this and good music. I mean, again, I can't even say that because everyone has their own opinion of what good music is, because it's a preference. But There's a vibe, and what people, even me, I have to tell myself all the time. You know, the things that I put out there matter.
Right.
You know, when people come to my show, you know what I'm saying? I want people to have a good time. I want them to love up on their lady, on their woman. You know what I'm saying? I want them to have some drinks and, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it is you do, but I want you to have a good time. We're not out there to you know, do no crazy killing, and we ain't trying to be gangsters and none of that, right? You know,
Right, but I wrote
So-
a post 2 days ago about this particular tragedy, and I know it's fucked up. But I said a lot of shit simply because the evidence is there and nobody's saying it. Nobody's saying it.
What club was this that he was going to?
No, he wasn't going to any club. He was coming out of a club like most people do in downtown. Was headed, grabbed something to eat, and was going to his car, and he just walked down the street. And you know what's funny about that? I grew up downtown, and I never really experienced any of that shit. Like I knew what it was to kind of go downtown, maybe get in a fight or two, but it wasn't as abrupt as it is now. And you know,
Well,
that's
people want to fight. The younger, I mean, not even the young. Some of the older guys don't want to fight no more. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, but at the same time, if you listening to fuck them other niggas because I'm down with my niggas. Like if you listening to that division at a certain club all fucking night, you're riled up. Same way I was riled up when I heard I'm coming straight out of Compton. Like
right.
a lot of robberies happened on that soundtrack.
What did I just say, Ron? I said when you come to a Christopher Kane show, you coming, you're gonna be with your lady, you're gonna dance, you're gonna drink, you might smoke a little herbal, whatever you do, but you're gonna have a good time. That's what we do. So whatever type of music you bring to the table, you have to respect the reaction for whatever lyrics you got. If you talking about, like you say, fuck them other niggas coming down, okay, then you're gonna have some dudes in the crowd that feel that way.
Look, I am in no place to talk. Once again, going back to the idea or the premise of not being able to speak and us all being handicapped by our own contributions to things. But I'll say this, man. There's a lot of lyrics that I've heard with this younger generation that sounds completely and utterly like, if I heard like 10 of those songs and I'm on the drugs that they're on and they're talking about, and I come out of a club, I mean, that shit can happen to me, man. I don't know. Like, I like to think that I'm better than that. I like to think that I couldn't fall for that. But I remember my youth. And I remember what was straight out of Compton meant to me.
Right, straight out of Compton.
You know, and I know what how many fights while that fucking record was playing, how many times we would pull over and how many times we didn't give a fuck. Like, I remember all of those moments and saying to myself,
you know what?
like,
Coming from Orlando, we didn't, man, we was partying, bro. It wasn't really
there was a portion of the city.
Listen,
there was a portion of that city, bro. A portion of our city that were listening to that gangster shit.
It was fights, but nobody wasn't really, it wasn't like that. Because when you came out of a club back in them days in the early 90s, you know, up into the late 90s, you came out sweating. Or you came out with two chicks. That's
right.
how I came out.
Well, in the magnitude of what you're talking about, absolutely. But where there were craziness, absolutely. We're talking about the rainbow. We're talking about fucking Mr. B's, Heroes. We're talking about
girls used to come in there and dance so hard, man. They had barely anything on. You shouldn't have no time to be
working. Right. It's fucking, it's numbers.
Right. You be trying to, you know what I'm saying?
That's skin to win, bro. What the fuck are you fighting over? Like, we got skin to win.
That's why you had people like Thriller Player and 95 South and all these groups that had the party music because that's the vibe and the even Luke.
Right.
You know, that was the vibe. That's the Florida, Orlando. That's the vibe. That party.
Right,
vibe.
but the music that did come out whether it was from California, whether it was from Philly, whether it was from New York, Houston, you name it, that did have a place in hip hop. And there was music is a frequency.
It had a place, but it wasn't Orlando. It wasn't Orlando sound though. That wasn't what people.
No, hell no.
That wasn't what people that was really from the city was listening to. We wasn't listening to. Even though we knew about Jay-Z, we knew about all these other people. We wasn't listening.
Right.
To that. We was listening to the people that was from our city, or from Miami, or whatever. But
Right.
it wasn't about no gunplay and necessarily. I mean, the thing about Florida, first of all, it wasn't never about no gangs. It was about dope.
It's about dope.
It's
Right.
about drugs and women. That's what it's about.
Drugs and women, and how many niggas is fucked up behind some women, and how many niggas is fucked up behind some drugs.
Right.
So all of that shit is not mutually exclusive. Like at the end of the day, you know, a lot of people got caught behind the web of all of its manifestations simply because it was a frequency, it was a vibe. If you didn't get the vibe, you know, like you were, you know, yeah, you were lucky because for a lot of people, they did get the vibe. I know NWA is a part of my soundtrack of my city.
Disco City. When you get Disco on the show, ask him what the stuff he used to play. It wasn't none of that. It was all up tempo.
Oh yeah, obviously, but we grew up on Jam Pony too. We grew up on Jam Pony, man.
You had a Jam Pony when you slowed it down and all that, but I'm just saying it was mostly it was up tempo, man.
About women. That's
what it was about for Florida, and you know.
But for my dogs that were attached to that gangster shit, I remember the summer that Dr. Dre dropped the Chronic, and I remember though Nothing But a G Thing was huge. The only song I heard in Orlando was Bitches Ain't Shit. Like I heard that shit.
Right.
I heard that shit in grocery stores.
Right.
I heard that shit everywhere. Like I couldn't even escape it. Even if I wasn't hip hop, even if I didn't know any of this music. Like that summer, that song was played.
Let me tell you something, man. This is a true story. Biggie Smalls, I know you remember the club.
Yes, Metro, man. Come on, bro.
You know Fantastic? Skating ring?
Yeah, Metro.
Well, it was before Metro. It was called Fantastic.
Right. It was called, but he didn't perform when it was Fantastic because that was our time. He performed at Metro.
He performed at Metro, but I'm saying this was 90, early 90s, like probably 94.
Yeah, right. That was after Skate World. I grew up at Skate World.
If you from the city, it was Fantastic first, then it was Metro and all that.
Right. But before Fantastic, it was Skate World, and I lived at that place because that was one of the only places that at midnight for real, everybody took off their skates and it was a dance contest.
It was a party.
Right, it was a party. Right. Now, continue, my brother.
When I came to the Metro, I was there. I was there when Too Short came to Metro too.
Yes.
When Biggie Smalls came, he did one song and they tore that whole club up.
They tore that whole club up.
Everything because he did one song and got the hell on. It was mad.
Right.
He won the party. And that's all.
Yeah, but he didn't show up the first time. Shout out to Jesse Jazz because he knows the story behind that shit. And he had me to that shit. I was like, he was at the hotel. He didn't want to perform or some shit like that, or he didn't want to catch a flight. But he didn't. He came the first. He was supposed to come the first time and didn't. They refunded everybody's money, and then they said, "Well, we're gonna do this the next time." And he actually came. So that might have been the time that you're talking about.
That's
where he only did one song.
But he only did one song.
One song that's what they think about Orlando. Like at the time, like that's what they think about us. But then I was reminded of how they do think about us because who was that? MC Boo. I had MC Boo from the Royal Posse on. And he was like, dude, Salt and Pepper came down and seen how we was rocking. And then the next thing I know, they came out with a video called Push It. And Herb took the whole that whole movement out here.
Right, and Pusha was a big record in Florida.
Dude, come on. But they seen how that up tempo was moving.
Right. That's what
And they filmed it at the Central Florida Fairgrounds, which I didn't know. I knew it looked familiar.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he said they filmed that whole video at the Central Florida Fairgrounds. I thought it was the whole time I thought it was in Florida or Orlando, but I thought it was at the convention center for the Fresh Fest. But come to find out, yeah, that's where it was at. Central Florida Fairgrounds. They did that video.
Right.
And I'm like, damn. And MC Shady co-signed that.
Now,
He said the same thing.
What year was, I'm going to take you back one more time. What year was Jack the Rapper? That was big for Orlando artists as well.
Yeah, but are you talking about the one that was here or the one that was in Atlanta?
Jack the Rapper?
Yeah, Jack the Rapper, the one I remember was at right there before you get to downtown Disney.
Yeah, Lake Buena Vista.
Yeah, it was in Lake Buena Vista, right? The road you take to go to downtown Disney, it was right before you make that left. It was right there. That one, I forgot the hotel, but that was the year Puff Daddy had Biggie and they had that promotion with Big Mac. And I love that shit. That shit was dope, man.
Yep, and Clark J. Altland, but just to bring up record pools, Jamlando Record Pool was one of the first record pools.
Shout out to Jamlando, my man. DJ Infinite. You already know, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he said, he missed the flight and didn't show up the first time. Yeah, Jesse Jazz was there. I already know he was fucking.
Right, he didn't show up. Was Jesse Jazz remember?
Yeah, he was there, bro. He was there. He said the people started throwing bottles, right?
That's right, and chairs too.
Right. Like they thought Orlando was that kind of people. Like we just gonna be like, yo, he regretted doing that. I've heard through the grapevine he regretted doing that, but then when he did come, they did the same shit. You damn right. If you're gonna do one song, what do you expect?
Right. But
shout out to Jack the Rapper, man. That was great for our city. That would never happen now. I don't even know how it happened then. It was even more racist back then. But the fact that Jack the Rapper was able to pull that bitch off at Lake Buena Vista and have all of, Black Spring, basically the equivalent of Black Spring Break in Lake Buena Vista, because everyone was there.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Was there, yeah.
Everyone was there.
I mean, I know Barry and Louis Bell. I mean, they had like, a lot to do with, putting people on and giving them opportunities to even go to Jack the Rapper and exposing their talents. So, but Orlando, Pleasure Island, right?
Yeah, I remember Pleasure Island. That used to be the default spot when everything else failed. What do you mean this is closed? Downtown is closed? What do you mean Palladium's closed? That's closed too? All right, we'll go to Pleasure Island. Like that was the last bastion of decisions that you made. Pleasure Island, default.
Yeah. But Orlando has a lot of history, man. We got a lot of talent. And I just think, once we start, the foundation already being laid with what you're doing right now. And it's just a matter of time, man, and through, like I said, communication. And we have to continue to build rapport. Just because everything is so digital doesn't mean that you can't, like I said, communicate, talk to people. You still got
we should be talking to each other just on general principle because we are family. Right now, we went through a fucking molestation of global proportions. We all were affected some way, somehow by COVID or this idea of whatever the fuck COVID is.
Right.
And we all had to sit and kind of contemplate, money over people. Some people, they came out of it like they're still about their money over people. And that's fine. But a lot of people decided over people over money. And as a result, we're all just trying to navigate these waters. We're all fresh into this bit. Nobody's an expert on this particular chapter. Nobody. No. Anybody telling you that bitch is a fucking lie.
Oh yeah, no, this is for all of us.
This is all of us. We're all children in this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all gonna fuck up. We're all gonna say the wrong things. We're all gonna make mistakes, but that shouldn't be the barrier to entry.
Right.
Because
And
there's plenty incompetent people out here right now, as it stands, with more power to destroy a country or destroy nations, and meanwhile we're contemplating over, oh, you don't clean your room enough, or your fucking life is a mess.
my people
Like,
just we done went over 2 hours. I said, we been talking that long?
nah, man, we found this. I didn't expect it, but we did it, and I'm okay with that because this is deserving of the time span that we didn't talk. And this should be proof to anyone out here, bro. You don't need to be all up in somebody's business to be able to talk to them, man. Everything is deserving. We are deserving people. We are deserving of this conversation. We are deserving of this time. And I wouldn't rather spend no time with anybody else right now at this moment, given the gap of time that we didn't talk. This is about our city. This is about our fucking story. And it's about our sound, dude. And that sound is your voice right now. That sound is my voice right now. We're talking to our people. This is documented. There's a video of this. There's a shirt of this. For once in our lives, if I did anything right in my life outside of my children and my marriage, it's the ability now to correct things that I didn't do when I was young. We didn't have a bunch of cameras, so we weren't taking pictures.
Right.
So evidence of the things that we contributed to it, and that's been thrown to the game. But this particular chapter, this is documented. We are talking about our fucking city, which has been long overdue, our people, and everyone in it.
Orange County, baby, 407.
Willing to come to the table. Your seat is already cemented. That shit ain't got shit to do with me. I'm simply the facilitator of that for right now, and I'm okay with that. But this is bigger than me. This is about our city. This is all I want for our city. If I'm going to live here, however long I'm living here, I want to make an impact on our city that will help generations past. And, I'm just honored that I had you on tonight, man, because I think you represent that lineage, that understanding, that ability to understand how important our value is, and that we should never sell our value short.
Absolutely.
That we should continue to communicate with each other, even if we ain't got nothing going on. How about that?
Right.
Even the fact that we're still alive.
You ain't got nothing going on, man, because the circle is small, man. One thing about Atlanta, man, when I started working in Atlanta, the first record I was in Atlanta 6 months, not even. I already did a record with Jesus through communication, through reports. And once I started circulating through the industry in Atlanta, I started figuring out, like, damn, everybody know everybody, like, and they all of them talk.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, and Orlando could be a city just like Atlanta or just like LA, because we got the population, the money. I mean, the opportunities are here. You know, we just got to come together, communicate, learn each other's likes, dislikes, and move forward.
The reason why the runaway slave was always neutralized because there was one of them.
There was what?
The reason why the runaway slave was always neutralized is because there was always one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Had it been the whole plantation, they would have been fucked.
Right. There was always that one.
Right. I mean, that's just the nature of us is to resist, rebel, and fight. We are fighters. We're kings. We are people with purposes. Things ain't just for the ride. Even if it means our death, we're going to do it. But where the enemy has been able to make strides is in our division. So they knew they were only going to deal with one disruptor. What if they have 1,000 disruptors in this city? What if they have 10,000 disruptors in this city? that not only disrupt the establishment and the people that are benefited, but disrupt the notion of why we should keep it that way. The status quo people, the people that are looking forward to benefiting from our division. The only way that's going to happen is it requires all of the people that can see past themselves and can scale their business based on not being divided. Like, what would your business do if the city wasn't divided? What if everybody showed up at your business? Not just black people, not just Puerto Rican people, not just white people. What if everybody showed up? What if everybody believed in you? Like, the people that are benefiting right now, that work on our division, they're fine with the way things are.
Of course, because they win it.
But they're the minority.
They're the minority.
And we outnumber them. Mm-hmm. And they know that. Anybody that's a real beneficiary of division and exclusion, they already know our stats. They're banking on whether we know ours. And this is that crossroads. This is where we at right now. Are we going to recognize our fucking stats? And that we are the numbers here in the city. There's more of us than there are of them. Why are we letting them control our narrative in our direction?
Well, it's simple. Because the Pandora box has been open, man. It's a wrap.
It's a wrap, bro. We deserve it. Our people deserve it. We live here. We occupy this town, and it's long overdue. This is a no-brainer. It's probably the easiest thing we will ever do. And we need to do it just cause it's the right thing to fucking do.
Right. Well, anything you need me to do, brother, I'm here for you. I'm here for the city. And let's get it done. Let's keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward, man. My brother from another mother didn't know till I seen him. And we about to build Voltron on all of y'all that have benefited as the result of us not being combined. And this is what's going on, man. Our city, over everything right now, our city deserves a place in which our people who have been in the forefront, who have been building up to this moment, we all deserve a place at the table. And there's more of us than there are of the people that are resisting. Don't let their resistance fool you. It's to their benefit and not yours. And that's the real talk. That's the real truth out here, man. We need a place in which our people have a voice. And it's right about now. COVID has been a curse on many things. We've lost many people. Rest in peace, all the people we've lost. Yeah. But it's also been a blessing because right now, more than ever, I've never witnessed this in my life. We're at a moment where people are listening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's a beautiful thing. And we need to garner that energy on some real shit that benefits all of us and not for the people that we just know, for people we don't know. We should be looking at it like that. Let's open up the whole entire city for business on our terms this time, not Disney's terms, not Universal City, not International Drive, not downtown, but what we have brought to this table the entire time. Well, most people want to be a part of.
Right.
Well, most people come down here, they're like, fuck, I didn't know that was down here.
Yeah.
I would have went there.
Right.
They told me to go Bob Marley's.
Right.
No disrespect to Bob Marley. But what they doing at this spot, I mean, that could be scaled too. Like, there's a bunch of reggae joints out here that deserve shine. I remember DJing at Black Culture Lounge and how dope that was. Yeah, like that was everything. Like, shout out to Mikey and G Pow and all that. That was one of the true dance halls and this is it. Shout out to This Is It.
The reggae ambassador.
CC, yeah. I reached out to him. He was supposed to be on the show. He got sick that one time, so we're trying to reschedule it. But yeah, Jamaica Me Crazy, the Mill, um, you know, right there on Sand Lake,
Right,
where
right.
what's that now? What's that restaurant?
Sound like?
Yeah, well, not Sand Lake, Kirkman, and right there by Cheetah Records in Universal, right across the street.
Oh,
The Mill was there. The Mill was dope. There's a whole outside with sand, and inside, you know, they had the little bar. But yeah, it was Jamaica Me Crazy. That was the first spot where Jamaica Me Crazy was at, and it was a dope spot. But yeah, like I've reached out to a lot of my West Indian people, and I want them on because you know, shout out to Kelly Ranks, legendary Def Jam artist.
you know,
He's on
Kelly,
the show. Yeah, you
the
know,
rest of the Black Rob too. 'Cause I know that was his man.
yeah. Black Rob was his man. Like, you know, I just want you to know, my brother, I had never expected this thing to be overnight. Um, or to do. I never really had expectations on it. I just felt like we needed it. So right now, this is where we at. We need this for our city. I don't know what it looks like at the end. I don't even know if we're gonna be involved in it. But I do know this is the first steps to it. This is the penny the penny drop, if you will. And we're just trying to make these things happen so people could actually see that it is possible. Because outside of that, it does seem impossible. One person ain't gonna do it for us. We need all of us to do it.
It's happening, man. All you gotta do is count the many guests you had on the show, and it's happening. People believe in this thing right here, man. Because if they didn't, they wouldn't be a part of the show. So it's happening as we speak. You just keep doing what you're doing, and we gonna keep doing what we're doing, and we gonna get this thing together, man. We gonna get it right.
Man, shout out to my man Jesse Jazz. He's you said TGI Fridays, right? Right. So where TGI Fridays sits on Kirkman and Universal Boulevard, or is
Oh,
that up?
yeah,
That's where the mill was. It was right on the corner.
yeah.
Like you couldn't miss it. And CC and them ran that bitch for a while. It was a beautiful thing for the city. It felt like you were going to the beach, and the whole night was at the beach.
Yeah, man.
It was just
Man,
it
we
was
had some
dope.
good times, man. From the, like I said, from all the clubs, Palladium. I remember all of them. The Silhouettes. Then it was Palladium.
Right. Shout out to Silhouettes. Yes. Spent a lot of time there, and the Palladium too. And it's just been a great run, man. And I think the run is just beginning right now. Like we're all in a position to help one another, and we should be helping. We should be helping all of us. It shouldn't be designated to those that agree or don't agree with us. We should be helping our city in general. And the best way to help each other without even helping each other is to promote the city. And I think everyone will come. And that relieves you of the responsibility of having to help each and every one you're fucking dealing with. Just promote the city.
Right.
And that's what we're doing. This is the Sound of Orlando show. I'm honored tonight to have my brother from another mother, Christopher Kane. Where can they get your stuff at if they need to look it up? You got a new project out. Where can they get that at?
All right. So we got the new project on Platinum City Music Group / Sage Lee. The EP is called A Thin Line. You can get it on all your digital platforms, Spotify, Amazon, Deezer. You can even dance to it on TikTok. It's on TikTok. It's on all that stuff. So, yeah, it's called A Thin Line. It's on YouTube. It's everywhere. So just check it out. Christopher Kane, A Thin Line. And yeah, man, support the brother, man. Support the Soul Show and support all the artists that have been on the show and you know, that are about to come on the show. You know what I'm saying?
He is the Sound of Orlando. He's been doing his thing here long time. And
shouts out to my man Sellers too out in Houston.
Yes.
Yes, Media Kings Network. Look out for that. Media Kings with 2 eyes. look out for that as well. We got some big things coming. We got our own network on Roku and Amazon, so that's going to be real big as well.
Oh, that's the move, man, and we should be promoting our city globally. Like, let the entire world know what the hell we're doing out here, man. We just ain't some town that you go shop at Disney and forget about the people them. We out here.
Yeah, forget about the people them.
Nah, man.
Hustlers,
Nah. RORL massive, hold tight.
Yeah,
You
man.
know my man, Christopher Kane. He's represented tonight. We had a long, in-depth conversation, deservingly so. 2.5 hours it went, but we're talking about what needs to be talked about.
Still talking? I'm like, yeah, I didn't even know he was going. I didn't even know he was doing it this long. But it's
We talking, man. We just talking.
Hey, I hope the people that was watching was entertained as much as possible. And please, don't be afraid to view the whole thing. You know, we can take a break, whatever, but
Shout out to my man Jesse Jazz. Give it up for my man, my brother from another mother,
yes, sir.
legendary Christopher Kane,
man.
representing the ORL to the fullest. Man, we love what you're doing, man. Continue to do it. And any way we can support it, brother, continue, brother. Please believe me.
Yes, sir.
Give it up for Christopher Kane.
Yes, sir.
Man, it's a great show tonight, man. We've been talking about real stuff tonight. And it's a beautiful thing when we can talk as human beings and not talk to each other as objects. What are you worth? What are you worth? What are you worth? I mean, but what do I know? I'm just an old man, right? I don't know much. I know about my city, though. Our city deserves better. Money can only buy you so much, but it also buys you distrust, a lack of empathy, a lack of forgiveness, and it creates a lot of enemies for you. Good luck with that. I'm behind my city. Y'all work that shit amongst yourselves. I know we represent numbers out here in this city. We are the sound of Orlando show. Thank you for tuning in tonight. See you back tomorrow with a brand new guest. This is what we do. Holla.
Live on stage, that sound.
Orlando!
So, is they ready?
Yes.
That sound.
Orlando!
You know?